Good morning. It's June 11th at 8:30, and I'm calling the Clay County Board of Commissioner meeting for June 11th, 2024 to order. First order on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
And motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, employee recognition. We are going to recognize Tracy Cummings today with Technology Services, and I'm going to turn it over to Rory Schmidt, her boss, to sing her praises.
Thank you. Good morning. We're going to do a duet today. Yeah, Tracy, in her 20 years, she started out as a GIS intern, made her way to help desk technician and computer support specialist, and now in her current role as a systems administrator.
So watch out, Steve.
Yep.
Our current administrator.
And all while being a diehard Bison fan. So, legend has it, any Bison games that have been lost in the last 20 years are because Tracy hasn't been in attendance. So.
Yep. I've honed my skills over the years.
So, in Tracy's current role, she plays a pretty critical part. She helps maintain and keeps up to date the PHDoc client management system, our Amentum tax system, IFS financial system. So she's got some pretty major applications and services she keeps running day-to-day basis. A lot of praise for Tracy. She does a lot of after-hours work to maintain these systems and keep the county operational. So thank you, Tracy. Appreciate all you do.
Talking about Tracy Cummings?
Yes, I am.
Or different Tracy?
Yeah, you. Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Tracy. You made that fun.
Looking for the $50 bill.
All right, that's going to be a tough act to follow. Next, we have citizens be heard. Do we have any citizens attending today who want to speak to any issue that is not on our agenda? Any citizens wish to speak on an issue not on our agenda? Steve, do we have anybody online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next, we have approval of bills and vouchers.
I'll offer approval of the bills.
Second.
Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah, we just wanted to have note in there, I think it lists anything over $2,000 that was paid, and in this payment cycle, we had the $1.5 million paid towards the triple RDC, the Regional Dispatch Center fund that was Clay County's full responsibility to pay for the new building, and a reminder that came out of our ARPA funding.
Very good. We'll note that. Any other comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next on the motion passes. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes for May 28th, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented in the packet.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now we have, okay, I've got my,
Number 2.
yeah, I got my numbers here crosswased. Request approval, one-year lease extension between Clay County and Public Defenders for Suite 404 in the Family Service Division. Joe?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. Normally leases for the Family Service Center, if they're just as normal, go on the consent agenda, but this one had a little bit more information I just wanted to share with you guys on this. We're asking to extend a one-year lease for public defender on the fourth floor, Suite 404. Currently, right now, they lease approximately 3,225 square feet. That'd be the north side, the north wing of the fourth floor. So over the last few years, we've talked with them. They've been asking for space, more space. In the last year or so, they've really grown, and we just don't have the space for them. So they have went out and they've actively started looking for a different place to lease. So in talking with them, we are extending their lease. It's currently up now, so we're asking to extend it 1 year, and that would give them time to find another place. So we're working with the building committee to discuss what would happen after 1 year with this space, and discussing all the space needs within the county department right now. So we'll be talking about what is going to be in that wing, and I'm asking for approval today to approve the lease. Questions?
Any questions for Joe? Commissioner Krabbenhoff?
So, is this that same area then we had been talking about a month ago when we were talking about maybe some area where public health would use this space, or is it the same or something else?
This would be on the fourth floor, and I think it's kind of more related to social services, who's on the fourth floor.
Okay.
You know, we were talking social services and then public health, their needs, you know. Public health is on the second floor, so so this would be more on the fourth floor.
Okay.
Talking today.
So it puts off that transition, obviously, for a year for anything in
Yeah.
social services?
Yes, correct. Yep, and I did speak with Rhonda and Quinn. They don't have any immediate needs, but they do have some needs coming up. So I think we have some time to meet with the building committee and see what their needs are and do it that way. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Next up, Corey. Corey Banger, Solid Waste Manager, request for approval to purchase a dry van trailer for Mattress Recycling.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Thank you. We are entering into an agreement, or attempting to enter into an agreement to recycle our mattresses. By doing so, we would have to take them to Becker County, and they will deconstruct them and do the recycling for us. In order to do that, we need some way of storing them until we get a full load and hauling them. So I've been looking, and I've found a few trailers in the area that are less than $10,000 that I could park at the RRC, keep the mattresses in them till they're ready to load, till the load is full, and then deliver them to Becker County. So I'm here to request spending up to $10,000 on a dry van. So
Questions for Corey? Commissioner Campbell?
Mr. Chair, this was also a topic of discussion at the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting, and after Corey's presentation there, they fully agreed that it was an appropriate use of funds, and ultimately it's another way for us to reduce the amount of items that go into our landfill, which also can be costly to expand when it's needed. So the committee recommended this approval, and if there's no other questions, I would move the purchase.
Second the motion.
A motion and a second. Just out of curiosity, they'll strip them down as a metal recycled, or?
yeah, they deconstruct them completely. They put them on a table that turns, and they cut all the fabric off separate, the foam, the metal, all that is recycled.
It's great. Any further comments,
And I think
questions?
I think they received didn't they receive something from MPCA in the state of Minnesota to?
Yeah, there's a grant
help.
out there that'll help with anybody who can. They would have helped us lease a trailer to haul them there, but that doesn't really help us because we'd have to lease the trailer long-term, and it didn't fit the criteria. So by purchasing a trailer, if the recycling doesn't work out, I can also use that trailer to store electronics in. So it'll have a dual purpose, so it won't go to use or be wasted either way, so.
Mr. Krapanoff.
Just a curious question. So like, how many mattresses are we talking about a year? Or a month, whatever.
Well, there's criteria. They only take full-size mattresses. They only take clean mattresses. They won't take any mattresses that have any bug remnants or any proof there was bugs in them ever. So we're hoping it'll be roughly 100 mattresses every month, month and a half. So. And those mattresses are very hard on our equipment at the landfill. They wrap around the tires of the compactor, and they're really a pain to deal with, and they won't compact at all. So you can, no matter how many times you drive over them, they just spring right back up. So.
Why only full size? Is that the way the machine down there is fit up?
It's
or-
all manual down there, but that's all they want. They don't, the little ones don't have the enough material in them to make them recyclable. So they just take, full size or bigger. So.
I see. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Okay. I have got, my packet's a little out of order, which I may take the blame for. We don't have a human resources issue coming up next.
No,
Okay.
that's the consent agenda.
There it is, yes. Somehow got to the bottom of my pile. Okay, committee reports already. We'll start with Commissioner Moselle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, we did have a meeting scheduled with Representative Keeler to discuss the PRTF, where we are at, eval after the legislative session. We did need to reschedule that with her, but I did have the opportunity to talk a little bit with our administrator on maybe where we go and how that could be reshaped to best fit Clay County's needs going forward. So more of a evolving conversation, as we all know. Was reported on last year. There's a delay, or last week, there's a delay in regards to new capital investment requests. I had the AMC district meetings in Fergus Falls last week. I did have an opportunity to speak to the group about the new MOA with the University of Minnesota Extension. Certainly understanding that budgets will be tight this year, that increase asked for the county from Extension is large. However, if you unpack that a little bit and look at what is included that hasn't been included in the past, that helps justify, in my perspective, how that increase could have happened, and understanding too, sometimes when you hold the line on staff increases, that sort of bites you in the next preceding years, and so I think we're seeing a little bit of that. But I felt there was a really good dialogue from all of the county updates. Thank you to Steve for presenting that on our behalf. There were some common threads of concerns in regards to what local entities are seeing in regards to workforce and AI challenges. Really feel that's a great opportunity for us to glean from each other on best practices. And we did have a long discussion on legislative decisions and how that affects us locally. Certainly, since it's fresh off our discussion on the cannabis ordinances, it was interesting to hear what other counties are looking at for that. And then yesterday, I had the opportunity to attend both the Clay County Withdrawal Management Detox Facility Construction meeting and the motor vehicle meeting. We did have an opportunity to walk through both facilities, and it's really exciting to see how much work has been done there. They've done a really great job mitigating a wet spring. Internally, there's a lot of construction that's going on, and the outer exterior work has been delayed a little bit. But in regards to the withdrawal management detox facility, they're sitting at about half of the contingencies remaining there, which is good with no outline change orders. But they're hoping that the masonry will get there to continue to finish the brick veneer that will happen, or that will take about 4 to 5 weeks. And then the largest concern, if that's even an appropriate word to use, is the generator will take about six to 8 weeks to ship. And we've had a rough estimate of that coming in the middle of July. So hoping that that isn't delayed any, because that could delay opening. But the positive in that is that they are working with Gertz and Gertz Construction and answering the phones, if you will. So that's a good sign. At least they're answering the calls. But that, I think, covers that meeting. Oh, we did talk about the final day inspection components, and then open house meeting days. We'll really know more of the exact transition dates and the availability for that at the July 8th meeting. And then we attended the Department of Motor Vehicles meeting. It was good at the walkthrough to see that county DMV staff, as well as the state of Minnesota staff, was able to walk through that to see exactly how that will flow. And there's one small item that needs board approval. I believe, is that the roof cap upgrade?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Moser, I think, what did it have to do with the $1,700 card reader?
Sorry, yep, there needed to be a card reader revision in the amount of $1,748. Certainly makes sense. We use all those card readers for all of our other facilities, so that will need to come to the board for that, but that was the only change order there. The remaining construction contingency is about $206,000. And same point as the last, we're really looking at within a month, both of these facilities opening up at the same time. So at the July 8th meeting, we'll know more, so we can really start our public awareness campaign and communication with the public on when that DMV switch will happen. There needs to be a group from Texas that does the work in regards to transferring some of those technology components, and so we really do need to narrow it in a little bit more for them so we can get them up here and do that. And then also to communicate to Center Mall on when our move-out date would be, knowing so we can do it at the first of the month and save the rent. And you know, I don't want to jinx anything, but if you look at what rent is and what our construction contingency is, I mean, that pretty much pays for what the updo of that space at Center Mall was all those few years ago. So understanding that it's hard to see such a great place transition to another great place, but financially this has really been a wise decision in my perspective. But and then I did have the opportunity yesterday to be part of a community dialogue with a group of Kurdistani residents in Moorhead. They're opening a new Kurdish Diaspora Center, excuse me, I'm sorry for my lack of appropriate pronunciation, in Moorhead, and really would allow that to be a great community hub for residents that live here, that have grown up here, that have been born here as well. And so just a phenomenal panel of young people that are doctors and registered nurses and really up-and-coming young people in our community that are wanting to take that next step in community service and wanting to have a dialogue. Moorhead was represented by City Council. There was Chief Wallen was there. We did have Moorhead Police Department was represented there, and among with another 15 to 20 people. Just had a really great conversation on working together to best serve our residents. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Friday, June 7th, I also attended the District 4 AMC meeting. Several topics there that we had spent a considerable amount of time listening to and hearing from counties who are really experiencing issues regarding tribal lands. And the idea that those lands would go back to different entities. It causes a lot of concern amongst counties, in terms of access and hunting and, access to lakes by private owners on their own lots. And so there's a lot of things going on there, and and of course, the tribal nations would like to have a lot of those lands back. So there's going to be a lot of dialogue going on. AMC does not have a formal position on that yet, and I think their stance is neutral, and they just want to learn more about it, and hopefully can bring people together to the table to try to come up with some maybe reasonable solutions without going to the extent of one side. We also, then the county reports are always interesting. Then we heard from the University of Minnesota Extension regarding the upcoming MOUs for the next 3 years. I just happened to note they're proposing some significant increases for the year 2025. I think Steve mentioned that could amount to about $50,000 in increases for Clay County for 2025. So we'll have to, review that some more and talk about it with them when they give their presentation to us individually as boards. We got some pretty good, from the staff, we got some pretty good updates and the work involved that they do at the legislative level on behalf of the counties when they work for, and there's certain things that are on our platform, and there's things that aren't on our platform that they know we'd have an interest in, and they're either able to slow some of those things down till we have an opportunity to, as counties, to discuss them, or they certainly bring it back to our attention. On Monday, yesterday, we had the withdrawal management meeting and the DMV meeting that Commissioner Moser reported on. I don't have much to add on that, other than that if the generator is received in a timely fashion, I think the goal is to still have the withdrawal management ready by September 1. And, and there's also a coordinated effort, and that's something that Joel is working on a transition. He's got a group of people on transition, and Commissioner Mojo and I talked about that, and we just wondered if it wouldn't be appropriate for us to sit in on that, to just hear how that process is going to go, because it's going to apply to both the detox facility as well as the DMV. There's going to be transition needed in both of those. So if all goes well, that's the case, and we have the same issue with the and of course, we cannot open the withdrawal management facility until the generator is operational. That's has to be operational before we can move in. And at the worst case scenario, if that doesn't arrive on a timely matter, that date could be moved back a month. And our architects we're actually saying it's a good thing that they're communicating with us, because there's some projects that on those generators that they're not even getting any responses whatsoever from the suppliers. And the issue isn't the generators, the issue is the control panels that go with them. They are having a difficulty getting those. There must be a lack of instruction on those, yeah.
Chips.
Yeah, chips. Then the motor vehicle, same thing, that's all really going well. Boy, the inside of that thing is really taking shape. You wouldn't think so from the outside, but on the inside it's really taking shape, and that's the same thing where they might even be on time, maybe slightly ahead of schedule, even though there's had some issues with the weather and construction on the outside portion. Yesterday afternoon, we had, through our building committee, we had another meeting of the Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility, PRTF, as we've been referring to it. And, you know, we're looking at many different options on that. And I know, you know, because we're seeing the potential delay in the funding that would assist us, it also allows us an opportunity to really review more options. And so there's two options that were previously considered, one being a remodel maybe of a portion of the Family Service Center, and then the other one would be constructing new. And after my sitting in and listening to Stephen, what's Stephen's last name?
Stephen Summers.
With Solutions. Yep. And listening to the criteria that they'd like to have, it just sounded to me like we have everything that facility needs in the first floor of the juvenile detention center. And I mean, everything, because we have the education, we have the nursing, we have the somewhat of a secure facility. You know, and whereas in some instances, our non-secure wouldn't need to have that type of secure setting. So, you know, we're also going to look at that facility and maybe transforming the first floor to that, and then maybe looking at something else for our non-secure. So we're trying to think outside the box here and come up with some good potential solutions. And I know you followed up with Stephen Summers, and he felt that facility would work well. And I think you've had a conversation with James. And so, you know, I think the good news is we have a lot of time to work on these different things. And of course, costs of everything make a difference, and so we'll be reviewing some of those things. But an emphasis has been on determining size, and that's kind of where we're at right now, determining size, and a lot of discussion was held on that. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Gross.
I too had District 4 meeting in Fergus Falls. Pretty much everything's been covered there already, but I do want to add on the county reports, they asked what item we are most proud of, and I'm glad to see that Steve did mention that. I think after my 12 years here, the thing that I've been most proud of is our employees. You know, we've built a lot of buildings here already. We put a new law enforcement center and a bunch of other buildings, you know, they're all good things that we've done, but when you look at our employees that we've had, I think that's the most. I think one other county mentioned too, their staff is their important thing that they're proud of, and I think that's really heavy in my mind as far as what am I proud of this county is, and that's our employees, what they're doing for us. And as I go out to the township meetings and stuff like that, and city council meetings, I find that out there too. You know, I was at Hitterdale City last night, and they're doing good. They hit their audit report there, and they're doing real good. You know, they got their financial report. There's a good audit report there. They're doing good as a city, and even the small cities are doing good. I mean, these times when it's tough for these small cities to get money, you know, they're doing a good job. So I think we've got a good staff all around here in the county, out in our townships and our cities. And the other meeting I had again was yesterday afternoon, psychiatric residential treatment facility, which Commissioner Campbell has already talked about what we're going to talk about. I think we're getting, I don't know, sometimes I feel we're getting too many options in there, but we do have to pick one of them, you know, and find out what it is. It's worth it going through all of them. You know, we got to take our time, and first of all, we don't have the money yet, so we got time to think about it, and I think we should review a lot of options. And those are the three cities meetings I had.
Thank you. Mr. Krabnoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Start with back on last Tuesday, we had our Clay County Library Board of Trustees meeting. The budget there is doing, their revenue source is through the number of cases heard in the courtrooms. Anyway, that number has been pretty high, so our budget is, on the revenue side, is in a very comfortable range right now. The law library itself, we do legal clinics. It's a steady flow of people, and the library's been used on a very consistent basis and still growing. The team down there is always going through the books and the materials, making sure that they're current and relevant. And the ones that aren't, they call it weeding. They go out, and then the state has a process of what needs to happen with those books before they're discarded. So anyway, that's ongoing. And then the last thing, and this is, I think by next meeting I'll have a lot more detail, but it sounds like that Clay County is going to work through court administration, and we're going to try a pilot project where we will provide tablets. We'll start out with 2 for people that are representing themselves in court. They can't bring materials in, so it's an age of digital information, right? And so anyway, the idea of starting where we will have 2 of them that these people can work with so that they can bring their resources in and just help them out the best we can. We think the only other place that this is maybe just starting to happen is in Hennepin, so kind of ahead of the other groups. The next day, on Wednesday, I went to the Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Module 4. So I've done Module 3 and 4 now. This one really kind of hit a little close to home. We were talking about, we used the example of a tornado going through town. And where it brought me back to, and the responses back in 1998, my daughter was a freshman at Gustavus, and I was witnessing the next morning when F5 went through St. Peter, and how it ripped through the dorms, how it ripped through that part of that community. And I thought that example was kind of stirred me, I guess, just to kind of remember what was going on. But the responsibility of our emergency services is so vital, not only for the response and how do we work with injured people and the response of cleanup and the whole deal and safety, but what's our role as commissioners within it? What's the protocol that exists? So it's good to be having training on that, and I really appreciate the work that Gabe Twinton does with that, as well as Sheriff Empton. Right after that, I, along with Steve and Commissioner Ebinger, went to the Moore Library and Community Center groundbreaking. It was a nice windy event, but anyway, it was, I thought, I don't know how big the crowd was, but let's just say a couple hundred, and it was well received, and it's exciting to think that by 2026, that'll be up and operational. So we'll see a lot of new construction and hopefully other business construction going on around there at the same time. And then last night I was at the monthly meeting for the Buffalo Red Watershed. Just a few things to note. They had their annual audit. They had Brady Martz and Associates. That came as a clean audit report. Also, Christine Holland with Riverkeepers gave her annual presentation. Believe it or not, Christine's been there 31 years already. I didn't think she was that old. That's a compliment. And anyway, she does a good job as always, and she talked to them about the biggest projects that they completed this year. One she was very proud of was the Red River markers that were put up all along the river. There are 17 of them in conjunction with many partners, mainly the City of Moorhead and others. She talked about the Water Festival, where this year they had again around 2,500 third and fourth graders learning about things with along the river, riparian areas and just good environmental things for kids to be learning at a really good age where they just soak it all in. Also, they talked about the number of volunteers throughout our community to clean up along the river, picking up over 800 pounds of trash on the river's edge, and also planting hundreds of trees with over 15 species that they use. And then the last part she talked about was the fishing and environmental clinics that they do throughout our community on both the cast and play side. So that was a good report by her. She did ask the watershed for $55,000 to work toward their budget, and that was approved. Other than that, it just seemed like the watershed's sort of in a place right now where just projects are in motion. With the high amount of rain, I think a lot of landowners are being reminded what happens on a wet cycle and where drainage goes and where it does work effectively and where it doesn't. Along with that, there's been a couple of violations of people plugging ditches or building little dams to kind of protect themselves, so they're staying ahead of it. One I want to make us aware of, and I don't have detail, maybe somebody else here does, maybe Steve does, but there, unfortunately, within the Holly School District, there's a project going on down there. Maybe you all know more about this, but anyway, there's a permit violation down there. They're plugging a county ditch. So there's going to be legal notice going out to the school board and to the engineers there that they can't do that and, find another remedy. But Justin's is aware of it, and we'll just see. It's just something we'll want to keep abreast on. Last thing I'll mention about the meeting was City of Georgetown. Again, the flood mitigation projects continues over there. Network Appraisals finished all their evaluations of everything for any easements, and so the proposed payment rates were approved last night for those individuals where easements, temporary easements will be needed. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, last week, I also attended the HSEM meeting, or training that we had, and that's been well covered, but I do want to indicate something Commissioner Krabanoff also stated. Gabe Tweeton's done a great job of having this county prepared for emergency situations. He's seen as a leader among his peers, and Sheriff Empting has done well by putting him in the position he's in. We're very fortunate. I've been here when we've benefited from having good emergency managers in the county, and he is in a position to help us address anything that comes our way, be it flood, tornado, or any other disaster. So I left with a real good feeling about that. Later that day, I represented the Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board at the groundbreaking for the new library and community center. Exciting day. Once again, I had the opportunity to take home a shovel. I didn't. We are so busy in this county, I've got all the shovels I need. But it's gratifying and it's exciting to see downtown Moorhead finally moving in a direction that to meet its potential. And I also attended on Friday the Region 4 AMC meeting, which has been well reported on. But again, one of the problems with being chair is you're the last one to make a report on this. And Commissioner Gross stole my thunder, but you listen to the county reports and you realize what an excellent team we've got. We are things like in the cannabis ordinance, they gave a presentation on things that we already have been brought up to speed on by our staff. And we've already voted on ordinances that are going to address these needs. And listening to the summaries that AMC gave us, our activities on that corresponded with all the information that's available right now. And we have a county attorney, we have a county administrator, and we've got staff that keep this organization running as a professional government should be run. And every time I get a chance to see how we stand among our peers, it's not that they aren't doing well themselves, but we really are a leader in counties in this state. And that completes my report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 5th, I met with Sheriff Empting. Happy to report that based on the conditional offers, assuming they work out, that the Sheriff's Department will be at full staff here within the next few weeks. Participated in the HSEM seminar. In addition to the different examples that we went through, kind of reviewed all the different sessions that we've participated in. And I know that there's a willingness, as we've had changeover in our commission, that potentially they would be able to come back into the future. That afternoon, participated in the groundbreaking for Moore Community Library. Again, that has been touched on. Just want to note, we've been making a concerted effort on our social media and web pages to let people know that the DMV remains open and will remain there until we move. There are 2 or 3 other businesses that are open in the Moore Center Mall. Just as a reminder, the only entrance that you can now get in is from the northwest entrance. There are multiple entrances that you can get into the actual Moore Center Mall, but from a parking perspective, that's the only path that's available now. On the 6th, I met with Darren Brook on a personnel matter. The 7th, we'll participate in the district meeting, and I think one of the things that were mentioned earlier, appreciate the great comments. We are fortunate to have an amazing team of employees here, so that was great recognition. I also think, though, that one of the things that was neat to say is when we talked about workforce, this board has taken a proactive approach, whether it's market studies, whether it's looking at ways to recruit and retain. I think when we went through that list of the things that you guys have approved over the last year and a half, that was pretty impressive also. So I think that when it comes to the comments that you make positive about our employees, it's absolutely true, but I also think that you're showing that in those actions that you took. So good to see a number of new administrators in that group in our region, and so it was good to have a conversation with them. Participated yesterday in the withdrawal management and the DMV. That has been covered in detail. I think just to kind of touch base, this board essentially made the decision to move ahead this past fall rather than wait till this year. It's about $9,500 every month that we get out of there early, and so this board is from a 2-year lease, you saved roughly $238,000. And so even from starting the project later, you saved right around $70,000. So a great planning there. Participate in the PRTF planning. I think as was discussed, I think we're doing due diligence on the best option, and so we appreciate the work from Klein McCarthy and their staff as we continue to throw them curveballs every once in a while. So. Just a few other things to note. Did send out a couple different emails yesterday, but this board has moved forward with looking at receiving congressional directed spending in a few different areas, and just wanted to make the board aware that Tina Smith has moved forward our withdrawal management request of $540,000, the Red River Regional Dispatch of $1.5 million, and also the West Central Regional Water District of $5.3 million. And so they're going now through the process of the Appropriations Committee and federal agencies to make sure that they meet the criteria that was set forward for those. And so the House and the Senate Appropriations Subcommittees will be releasing a draft bill later this fall. And so we could have payments potentially, if we were approved as early as November for these different areas. So exciting there. Just of note, next week, we have, our board meeting is going to be at 5 PM for our citizens, because we have a Board of Appeals and Equalization at 6:30 next Tuesday. Also for our citizens, just of note, next Wednesday, the June 19th will be closed in recognition of Juneteenth. And then the last thing, it's hard to believe and it's always scary, but the Clay County Fair is 1 month away from today. And so we will be having our Government Day on July 12th from noon to 4 PM. So we'll have a presence there again. I believe we're going to be right by the sheriff as we were last year. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Steve. Darren, do you have anything? Sarah? Okay, Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, I just don't want us to end too early here, so I want to talk a little bit more. I just wanted to go back to the PRTF for just a couple more minutes and explain a couple of other things. You know, in our meeting yesterday, and one of the things that we always got to take into consideration is, and I'm going to use the term that Rhonda used yesterday, this facility is going to really be dealing with kids with severe mental health issues. That's really what we're after here and looking at here. And I think where we put them is really has to have strong consideration. And I don't know that putting those kids into our family service center is really the best and safest for everybody in terms of that clientele population that's there. When we start hearing that we have to be careful of how we construct things because of the potential damage that can be done, I mean, we have to take that seriously, but understanding that we need to help them, but at the same point in time, we got to understand what the capabilities are of something going wrong are as well. And so going back and looking at, I know Jenny and Paul, I think in talking about this, I think the treatment facility that we were looking at originally, was it a 16-bed? Is that what did we have a number there? I thought that was
12 to 18.
12 to 18? Okay, 12 to 18. Well, going back to the discussion about the first floor, currently in our first floor non-secure, we have up to 33 beds on that first floor. I'm just giving some data information for us to collectively be thinking about. The PRTF would also need to have a gym. Guess what? There's a gym in that facility already, so we wouldn't have to construct another gym. The school system, there's already classes being held on the first floor. Now, that doesn't say that we're not going to still have to find something else for what's currently on the first floor. But I think from a fiscal responsible area and a more, when you think of neighborhoods, a safer option would be to move that non-secure group of kids, as opposed to the kids that would be required to have this more direct supervision, for lack of a better term. The nursing is there, like I mentioned, the public school system is already there. And the other comment was, and of course, this facility wouldn't necessarily be just for Clay County kids. That's something that we have to understand and as Stephen said, not our Steve Larson, but from Solutions said, whatever number of beds in the state of Minnesota, they can be filled. And so there's also the ability, if we have the appropriate place there, just like our secure facility at the detention center, it really has become a revenue producer for non-member counties coming in and using our facility. That helps pay for all the staff, all the medical, all of those things that we do there. And it can be done in a safe environment. So I'm just putting those things out there as we further these discussions, that there's an awful lot of things that we've kind of got built in right now that might be of help. So I just wanted to share those.
And just a little feedback, I guess, for me, and maybe others who are more familiar already. I would, it would be helpful for me anyway, if we could even take a tour of that area so I could visualize kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I know I think our group is planning on taking a tour of, what is it, Steve, in Fargo?
Dakota Boys Ranch.
Dakota Boys Ranch in Fargo. We're gonna take a tour of that and see how that, I think do they have some of that type of clientele there?
They are a PRTF.
They are a PRTF, okay, yeah. So we're gonna also look at that and see. And again, my whole point here is, and I know Frank said sometimes we get too many options, but I think we need to look at all available options that we don't have to reinvent the wheel in some cases too, so.
I'm certainly open to that.
That's it.
Any other comments? We're adjourned.